men can have postpartum depression and mood disorders as well. So while we are here talking about, oh, it's your girl, actually, dog, it could be you and you literally projecting that onto your girl.
Men can have postpartum.
Yes,
I've never heard about that before.
Yes.
So how does a man project that onto his female friend or counterpart?
Maybe, yeah, maybe you're telling her, I don't feel the love anymore. I feel like I'm being neglected. I feel like I'm being overlooked. Maybe both of y'all working, both of y'all helping to take care of the child, but you can't seem to get past all the things that you're missing out on. You may be having feelings such as high irritability. You may also be feeling angry. So postpartum rage is a thing in both parents, in mothers and fathers. There's also the lack of social support.
Join me every Tuesday on Clubhouse to discuss further on today's topic, and catch me every Thursday live on YouTube, IG, and Facebook for the pre-show of the next show. All right, back to the show.
Shout out to all the online content creators. Your online courses of about $10 to $20, $30,000 price tags were the source of great humor during those cold pandemic nights. It's ridiculous. But anyway, thank you for tuning into the Mind of a Man podcast, where Bush Counseling Services does work with individuals who are delusional. Schedule a visit. So without further ado, let the manversation begin. Bartender, cue the music.
Welcome to the Mind of a Man podcast. A podcast where men have manversations on topics they rarely discuss, such as health, family, and wealth, to name a few. Now, here's your host, James Bush.
What's going on, everybody? Thank you for tuning in to the Mind of a Man podcast. My name is James Bush. I am your manversationist. And today we got another great guest. She is a therapist. Crazy enough, I've met her before, but I don't even remember it. I don't know what that says about alcohol, but anyway. Chemyeeka Tumblin, welcome to the show.
Thank you for the invite. Pleasure to be here.
So Chemyeeka, tell my audience, there's mostly guys, and a couple women in there as well.
Okay.
What do you do?
Well, so full-time job, because out here most of us work in multiple. I work for a national organization around maternal and child health. So policy, also legislation, and it informs basically programs and processes for state and local health departments, as well as some programs around those things around the entire United States and some outside organizations. So I guess you could say they're international. Also, by night, like you said, I am a therapist working with families, individuals, and couples. So I do premarital therapy as well as therapy for couples or individuals after the birth of a child, as well as loss. And then I work in the CBT, IFS, and a couple of other modalities. So a lot of my clients are working through anxiety and depression, but they come in for grief and then find out that's what's occurring. And then outside of that, reproductive health and justice. I sit on a few boards. I am also a full spectrum doula. And yeah, without like overwhelming the folks, that's me.
Well, your quiet time is, I guess, amazing. Would it not be? With
Yes.
all that you're doing. All right. So now, let's get into game time.
Okay.
As I said before, and those who have watched this before, I like to play games, and women think so too. So what I generally offer is 5 questions.
Okay.
You get all 5 right, you get some Mind of a Man podcast swag. You get 1 wrong, no swag for you. And I will lightly, abrasively talk about you for the remainder of the show. Your African American card will not be revoked, but I can't promise that. You ready?
No, but go ahead.
All right. Question number 1. What direction do growing bananas point?
South.
That is not correct. No swag for you. It is upwards. Question number 2. Please tell me you get this right. Who played the lead in the movie The Mask?
Jim Carrey.
That is correct. All right. Good. We're positive. Question number 3. What is the capital of Nigeria?
Really? Yeah, I don't know. I'm not even gonna butcher or even try on that one.
What? It is Abuja. All right. Question number 4. In motor racing, what does a yellow flag mean?
Go.
No, it means caution. Okay, Chemyeeka. All right, Chemyeeka Tumblin. Question number 5. Where is Chemyeeka Tumblin born?
Douglas, Georgia.
Douglas, Georgia. All right, ladies and gentlemen, 2 out of 5. Not bad. Not bad. But no swag for you. All right. So let's get into the gauntlet. 3 segments. My team, they're screaming at me. They said, James, keep it under 30 minutes. I'm trying to. Here we go. You mentioned about reproductive health. You've mentioned about working with couples after they've had children. And so what it dawned to me is a lot of my audience, we don't know anything about that. So give my guys a quick intro to what is reproductive health? What does all entail?
Okay, so everything we learned in school, we didn't learn enough. So reproductive health is not just talking about making babies, it's talking about understanding the anatomy of the body, the physiology of the body, and what does it take for your body to help make a baby. So before you get to the fun part, aka the sex, like, do you know enough about your body? Are you going to the doctor? Do you know about your blood pressure? Do you know about the risk factors such as drinking, smoking that they have on the body when you get ready to have a child? Also, do you know your sperm count, the health of your sperm, which also are impacted by things you are doing right now or maybe have done in the past in terms of how things that we do in social settings and sometimes alone, how they impact our body and the physiological changes that are happening inside as well.
Quick question. Who do I go talk to about learning my sperm count?
So you can speak with your doctor and get a referral a lot of times to a fertility specialist or a fertility clinic. A lot of people think that that is specifically for women. It is not. It is for all individuals.
So you're telling me that I can go and ask my primary care physician or a specialist how many of my swimmers are actually swimming with me at this point in time of being a 40-year-old male. And they can
Yes.
tell you that.
Well, they won't tell you that. Your PCP will refer you to a specialist, but yes.
They have it down to the number.
Not necessarily the number, but they can tell you, just like they tell a woman like about her egg health or with age, what your chances are or how much they have decreased based on a report of not only family history, but like I said, a history of your activities in life around like a great estimate of what your health looks like in terms of sperm count. Yes.
Well, I'm fixed, so it really doesn't matter. But what I will add into that is that you mentioned that couples, they come to see you after they get married and they're planning for pregnancy. What are some of those conversations like?
Okay, so yes, some of the population comes to me for that specifically. We typically, especially if I've seen them in premarital, we start that conversation in the premarital phase. It may look like, how many children do you want? Talking and telling them like, have you went and seen, what does your care team look like? So what are you talking to your PCP about? What are you talking to your gyno about, or OB if they already have a child? What have you spoken with the endocrinologist? And then also along those lines, do you know if you have a history of depression or a history of maybe polycystic ovarian disorder in your family? For men, do you have a history of cancer of any kind? And just in general, things your doctor will talk to you about, but having that open and honest conversation in a room with me to help you understand how to advocate for yourself in the doctor's room, but also how to have that conversation with your spouse or with your partner, because that is a very vulnerable space. And for a lot of your audience, as they know, we have this, what's the word I want to use? It's definitely a stigma, but also a stereotype that men are not vulnerable and women are. That's not always the case.
Speak on
Not,
that.
yeah, and not only that, but a lot of times we get into relationships, or what I've observed, we get into relationships, and after we get married, we think conversations are just going to become easy because this person's with me forever. And sometimes it makes it even more difficult because now you know a lot more about this person. And whether it be because you're trying to protect their feelings, you're trying to protect something in your relationships, it makes conversation sometimes difficult because you're considering a lot more than just yourself.
Wow. So, I mean, I'm just, if I could give you a round of applause on that last comment about that thought that women are more vulnerable than guys are, and it's not always the case. That's worth an extra point in game time. Still no
Thank
swag for
you.
you, but it's still worth there. Okay. I mean, but yeah, and I find that just so interesting because when I'm listening to you and you're talking about endocrinologists and all these different individuals that we're seeing, and I can imagine some of my guys out there that's saying it's dollar signs, that's copays, that's different people that have to pay. But the seriousness of having these parties on board for the birth of your child, I think is so important because it puts you ahead of the game as opposed to behind it, and it gives you a foot up though. So
I think too, it brings the question, especially for guys, when we talk a lot, whether it be around dating or just having conversations in friend settings, we talk about relationships like when, do I know I want to take this person home to meet my mom, or how do I know they're the one? And then we talk about like self-love, but we don't talk a lot about the different components that go into, from student loan debt to healthcare. What it look like when you start having to choose the family plan on your insurance at work, from, choosing to care for only yourself. Also, what does it look like in terms of, I really don't like the phrase, this person being your peace, but what is it like to have peace with another person? They're not your peace, but the two of you together have a set or an arrangement where when you're together, you find peace in that setting. And sometimes the key to that, or what gets down to that, is clear communication, understanding each other, but also in that the ability to be vulnerable. And when we say vulnerable, clear communication, understanding each other, that means when it comes to discussions such as these and what we're talking about, when you're my helpmate, or when we're helping each other and we know we're resourceful, when it comes to dollar signs, co-pays, and all of that, it means I'm looking up grants, resources, and other things that are out there, but I know that we're doing it together. And as the partner in the relationship, I don't feel like it's all on me because I know you are also doing the same research I'm doing. And it shows that we're on the same team.
man, that's another hour and a half conversation right there. But we got to keep moving forward. But that's definitely, I mean, you definitely diving into some very, very intriguing information. Think I got to have you back. So, question number two. I mean, well, not question number two, segment number two. We're talking about postpartum. And I know that you have a lot of experience working with people when it comes to that topic. For my male audience, inform us, educate us. Let us know, what is postpartum, and is she crazy?
No, we don't use that phrase. Also,
I do, but anyway.
postpartum is a period. So postpartum is literally at the birth of a child.
Okay.
And when we talk about the postpartum period, you're honestly in postpartum until you are pregnant again, or what we call the interconception period. So once, okay, we got that 45 minutes. Once a a woman has a child or a birthing person has a child, you are in the postpartum period, and sometimes it's known as the fourth trimester. If you want to do some reading up on that, guys, when you're in that period, we ask, or it is research has shown that it is important that a woman or an individual stays in that period for at least 18 months to ensure that the next pregnancy has the most optimum outcome. In that period, hormone changes are occurring. You will find your relationship may need to shift because giving birth is a traumatic experience, whether the trauma is good or the trauma has a lot of negative connotation around it, whether it be what happened in the birthing room, what support looked like after the birth of the baby, or literally what the pregnancy was like. And then having the baby, feeling a sense of relief, but maybe not feeling connected to the child. All of these things can occur. So when you think of postpartum, you're thinking of what's happening after the birth of the baby. In terms of men, well, I say we don't use the term crazy. Like I just said, there's a lot of hormonal changes, things have happened to the body, and then you have the social impacts and the systems that have come into place when giving birth as well. But also the fact that men can have postpartum depression and mood disorders as well. So while we are here talking about, oh, it's your girl, actually, dog, it could be you, and you literally projecting that onto your girl.
Men can have postpartum.
Yes,
I've never heard about that before.
Yes.
So how does a man project that onto his female friend or counterpart?
Maybe, yeah, maybe you telling her, I don't feel the love anymore. I feel like I'm being neglected. I feel like I'm being overlooked. Maybe both of y'all working, both of y'all helping to take care of the child, but you can't seem to get past all the things that you're missing out on. You may be having feelings such as high irritability. You may also be feeling angry. So postpartum rage is a thing in both parents, in mothers and fathers. There's also the lack of social support. We're in the, well, a pandemic has happened and people were, forced to be home. A lot of people were told you can't go out. So now you have a new baby, you're lacking sleep, you're not catching up with the homies like you used to. You may find yourself drinking more. And you feel like there's some type of disconnect with your girl because y'all not being intimate the way y'all used to be. But also, once again, her body just went through a whole lot of changes. She trying to heal. And maybe the coping mechanism that used to work for the both of you when you find you were in difficult situations just ain't there anymore. So it's not so, I feel we get this overgeneralized version of what postpartum depression is in the media. And in all actuality, sometimes the things that we see as common are actually symptoms or signs that we should be asking ourselves the question of what has changed? And also, do I feel like maybe I need to seek out deeper help?
It's crazy, and you probably correct me on this, but I don't know, I kind of started to click with me where when it comes to that topic, in reference to females, women, or so, it affects them very internally because they are having the children, the hormones are there, and it is doing a lot of stuff to scramble their brains at that point in time. However, when it comes to guys, it affects us on an outward exposure or a societal period because yes, the things that we knew that would be true, such as being with the guys, having those friendships, associations, regular sex, and everything like that, that is not taking place at the alarming number that we would like it to. So then we start tripping, we start doing all the other things, and the rest is the rest.
I like that. If it's clicking for you guys, keep that. But I also want to add that that doesn't mean that you're not having hormonal changes as well, because we know that the body needs sleep, rest, and good nutrition in order to create certain, not only certain hormones, but just to function and to revitalize itself. Both of y'all not getting sleep. Depending on what's happening throughout the day or what your diet looked like before having a baby, you may not have that vital nutrition. So not saying that your body is changing in the same way your partner's body changed, but you are still having some of those internal changes as well.
But I can't have a baby.
Nope, you can't.
We're going to take a quick break. We'll be back. Mind of a Man podcast.
The Mind of a Man podcast was brought to you by Bush Counselling Services, where we don't merely advise our clients, we accompany them on their journey to realise the life they desired. Look us up at bushcounselingservices.com. That's bushcounselingservices.com.
And we're back. Mind of a Man podcast. So, Chemyeeka, I have had 2 children. Now, whether I can tell you their mother suffered from that, I don't know. Well, maybe she did, but I wasn't a therapist at that time. But anyway, what are the do's and don'ts when confronting someone who suffers from postpartum depression?
Ooh, okay. Do remember that you love them. And if you are approaching them out of concern, love, compassion, and empathy need to be upfront, and then critique with that compassion. And when I say critique, I mean ask questions. So that's a one. Just like individuals who often are not suffering from depression find it hard to ask for help or to accept help, same scenario going on here. So to remember that, because I think a lot of times we hear the word postpartum depression and it's like, hearing rocks, almost like either they're falling from the sky or I'm about to walk barefooted across rocks. And sometimes you just need to get out of that mindset that this is going to be truly something really, really tough, and just put yourself in the mindset of I'm approaching this person. So I'm not approaching the postpartum depression, I'm approaching the person, because one of the key factors to getting through postpartum depression, whether it be prevention or intervention, is making sure that you have a strong, stable support system. And if you are a part of that person's support system, you are somebody they're going to be looking towards to actually approach them and let them know, like, hey, I think it's time that, we have a conversation, or I think it's time that we talk to someone else. But if you're afraid to do that, then you're not only stalling the process, but you're also impacting your relationship with that person as well. Don't assume anything, because a person could be depressed without postpartum depression. There could be other things leading to the depression, but also, especially when I said guys can have postpartum depression too, don't be the person that's always like, we gonna make fun of this or we gonna joan, because there comes a time when you make fun of certain things, your homie laughing, but also thinking like, this me, but I can't say it because you're gonna clown me. So whenever you're coming into the space of, I want to be able to ask you and have a serious conversation with you, make it a serious conversation, but then maybe laugh afterwards. I'm not saying you can't laugh, just don't leave with the jokes, because it makes it hard to actually be honest. Whenever you are considering or thinking about even having a child, have these conversations up front. Like, what does our postpartum care plan look like? Like, once you have this baby, what type of conversations do we need to make sure we're having on a regular? Just like you would ask prior to marriage, like, hey, when we get married, what are things that we know we want to make sure we never stop doing, like dating? So if we're getting ready to have a baby, do I need to be like, hey, we ain't been out in a while, put the baby in a stroller, we're gonna go for it, maybe just a walk, or I'm gonna get you out the house and we're gonna go sit on the back porch and have a conversation, or just breathe some fresh air. Like, make sure you are still connected. Make sure that individual knows that you care for them, and that even if you guys aren't talking, that you're there and you're willing to be in their space, and eventually they will open up to you. And even if they don't open up to you in that moment, that their brain is registering, this person is here for me, and it's clearly here for me through the good and the ugly. Because on the days when you're telling them, let's go out, you're probably doing that because you notice maybe they're finding it hard to get out of bed, or maybe they are finding it hard to take a shower. Like, you're taking on a caregiver role. So I think that's important too, to remember that while you're taking on that caregiver role, while they're being a caregiver to your child, it's not saying that care and love won't be returned. It just might not be returned in that moment. But once you make it through the tunnel and are on the other side, the love will be reciprocated. You will have different conversations, and intimacy will also look different. So just keeping those things in mind, I think are key when it comes to supporting your partner or even supporting your homies through situations like this, is that it's not something outside of the normal. You don't have to become Superman all of a sudden. You just need to be true and genuine to who you are and remember who that person is and their genuine self.
I think one of the biggest things that you mentioned was being able to have a team, and teams are very important. And each team should have people of different roles. You don't want a team of all quarterbacks because nobody's there to catch the ball, and you don't want to have a team of all point guards because someone's got to shoot the ball. Well, that's a bad analogy, especially in this day and age of basketball. But anyway, having a therapist,
Yes.
having loved ones, support systems, having a membership, I guess, to Massage Envy or the Gun Range or anything like that. I think it's so important to have on your team or resources, things that are available, because this is something that it not only impacts your significant other, it impacts you. And if you begin to spaz or start to tap out during the process, the whole house will be hold. And that can create a very, very toxic situation quickly, which possibly may last beyond the postpartum depression.
I think I want to add to that also,
Okay.
ensure you have a doula.
Mm-hmm.
Um,
Oh,
and
not
yeah,
yet. What is a doula?
okay, so a doula is someone that assists the family through any period. So they can assist you from fertility to postpartum. They can assist you from pregnancy to postpartum. They can assist you only in birth or only in postpartum. But this person is there to walk alongside you, help advocate for you, help you advocate for yourself,
Mm-hmm.
but also provide education in terms of what birthing positions look like when it comes to working with the partner or working with dad, helping him understand that he has a role in all of this, from the fact that if she's exclusively breastfeeding, that does not mean you can't be involved. There's a role you have there, whether it be talking to her, making sure that she has snacks, to maybe reading a book to her and the baby. Like, there are ways for you to be involved. So a doula is someone who is truly there for mom, just like everybody else is there for mom, but also being mindful and inclusive of you in the process and making sure you understand how having a baby is another way the family can grow more intimate. It does not have to be a period in which you guys become isolated from each other. Another thing I think I want to add to that too is that when talking about having a baby, and I don't know if y'all watch Insecure. I like the show Insecure. It's been giving me a headache lately, but only because I just feel like there's so many conversations we could be having around it that we have not had yet. And that is, if you guys are not married, you're in a relationship and you may not be sure where it's going, please talk about co-parenting, because everything that we just talked about, if that's how you feel or that's how you're feeling, and this person is a person you don't even know if you want to be in a relationship with, it becomes twice as hard. And then it becomes even harder on her and you, dealing with those emotions, trying to be present for a child, but also navigate the whole situation of who's gatekeeping the baby. So be sure you have those conversations, and they don't always have to be blow-ups. Maybe even bring in a mediator. Like, how are we going to be the best parents for our child? And does that look like me supporting you? And if so, how do I support you? Because it's not always financial. Like, how can I just show up and bring a snack? Or, if you say you tired and you being too tired, at least you don't want me to take the baby because you feel like I'm just as tired as you. Like, how can we be there to support each other so that we know, one, our child is the most healthy that they can be, they're seeing a healthy relationship, but also the understanding of we're going to always have a relationship even if we don't have a relationship.
Wow. They have a statement that says conversation rules the nation. And I guess in the case that you just mentioned, I think that is very important, especially when we look at the number of individuals who are actually getting married or declining marriage and deciding that they'll go the life partner route. And so I think having that discussion is important to see what is the plan, what are we actually doing. And I understand it too that sometimes plans do change, but even with that, being prepared, being in the moment, having your stuff together, that's going to help you. Having that team together, that's going to help you. Being unprepared, it's like a chicken with his head cut off, then you're being reactionary. And when you're reactionary, sometimes you make mistakes. Okay. Chemyeeka, I got to kick you out now. Gotta go.
Okay.
Got to kick you out. But tell my audience where they can find you at, get some more great information.
Yes, you all can find me on Instagram at Positively Meek. You all can also find me at Hampton House Counseling. I am a therapist there. You all can find me on numerous podcasts, but they are all linked on the IG page of Positively Meek around talking about postpartum, relationships, dating, marriage, and all things health in all honesty. And last but not least, I have a website that is getting ready to drop. So you all would definitely be privy to that information. And hit me in the DMs. As long as you're not trying to be a client, then I suggest that you go straight to hamptonhousecounseling.com. But I will answer any of your questions, including link you if you need to be linked to a therapist in the city, especially a male. I know a lot of them. I can't necessarily guarantee you're going to get on their caseload, but I can give you the information and let you know to give them a holler.
Once again, thank you, Chemyeeka Tumblin. It was crazy because when you made a comment, you said that, especially when the mother is breastfeeding, that knowing that the father is going to be a part of that, I'm like, where the hell is she going with this? But I got to let that go. All right. Take care, man. It's been good with you. What's been on the bushes next? Great episode. We're talking about postpartum depression. We're talking about mental health. One of the things that I'm noticing from a last couple of guests that I've interviewed is the importance of having conversations, the importance of being prepared. She mentioned that sometimes she's counseling newlywed marital couples who maybe they don't have any idea of when they want to start a family, when they want to have children, but getting all the necessary details together. So important. How many kids do you want? Do you have cancer? Is cancer running your family? High blood pressure, diabetes, the list goes on and on. And also too, with being prepared in that way, asking yourself, who do we need on our team to help us in this time? Who's going to be working? How long are they going to be working? All these things have to be taken into consideration. What I found is sometimes when people have those, oops, those kind of situations, they're very reactionary. We're trying to get up to speed and make sure we dot all the I's and cross all the T's and do that sort of thing. But the importance of actually having a plan and having these discussions, I think that puts people far in front of their successful level as opposed to behind. Better said, level of success. Once again, thank you for Chemyeeka Tumblin for coming in and see us. The word of the day is edify, to uplift, enlighten, or inform. Anyway, Merriam-Webster said it, so I guess it's got to be true. And again, if it's in the book, it's there for a purpose. Take care.